All right, we're going to get started here. Thank you for coming to our talk. Let me start saying who we are. So my name is John Cavalieri. I am a software engineer. And this is my friend and colleague, Sean, Ephraim.
Hello, everyone. Thanks for coming out.
And this is our talk about Developer's Guide to Making Project Setup as Difficult as Possible. All right, so we're going to start with some questions for you guys. All right, I want a show of hands. Have you ever been assigned to a software project that was difficult to get set up and running? All right, keep those hands up, okay? All right. Whoops. Did it take more? Leave your hands up if it took more than 1 day. Okay. 2 days? 3 days? Oh, we lost some. Wow, you guys are lucky. Okay. How about 1 week? Did you guys ever have a project that took more than 1 week? Okay. 2 weeks? All right, we're dropping off. Okay. Oh, here's a, we feel you, man. We feel you. There we go. 1 month. Yeah. Yeah, okay. Okay. Well, we've all been there. Okay. How much time and money was wasted just on setup? It's rhetorical. All right, so we're going to do a cautionary tale told in 4 acts regarding a typical project setup. I'm going to hand it over to Sean.
Okay. Act 1. Getting started. This is you. You just got moved to a different development team, and it is time to go download the source code. This project uses Ruby version 3, so let's go download that. But there's another project that still uses Ruby 2, so let's go download that as well. But what's this I see? There's still yet another project that uses JRuby, the Java-based version of Ruby. So let's go download that as well. Since we're using multiple versions of Ruby, let's install a Ruby version manager. Then we can download and switch between whatever version we want. But JRuby requires Java, of course. That's cool. I've already got Java 14 pre-installed on my computer. But wait, what's that? These projects actually still use Java 11? Okay. Let's install a Java version manager then. Here's one, JENV. That looks pretty nice. But it doesn't actually install Java for me, does it? There's a different one called SDKman, and oh look, there's actually a .sdkman.rc file in our project source code already. It specifies exactly which version of Java to install. So let's give SDKman a try. Oh, actually, that file is super old, and it refers to some revoked version of Java that I can't even install anymore. Cool. So back to JENV, gen, whatever it is, I guess. But I still need to download Java from somewhere. Okay, I suppose I'll install with Homebrew, I guess. All right, let's move on and install some Ruby gems, aka our Ruby libraries. So I need a gem manager now as well. Bundler, my old trusty friend Bundler. Downloading the latest version now. Oh, rats, okay. Now it's complaining that I must use Bundler version 2.1.4 exactly. And for this other project, I need Bundler version 2.0.1 exactly. So not only do I need a version manager, but I need multiple versions of the version manager itself. Wow, okay. Is there such thing as a version manager for a version manager? All right. I haven't even gotten to MySQL yet. I see some projects use version 5 and others use version 8. No worries. I'll go grab a MySQL version manager. Oh, okay, wait, what? There's actually no such thing? All right, hold on. Let's check Stack Overflow really quick. There's got to be a way. Yeah, it looks like you can do it and run multiple versions, but it involves some other super complicated setup. Okay, what's next? We still have Redis, RabbitMQ, and let's not forget about Elasticsearch. We need that too. Does this sound familiar to anyone? Keep in mind that this doesn't end at the setup stage. You still have to maintain all these dependencies on your local machine and make sure each service is not only running, but also running the correct version for the project that you happen to be working on at that time. When setup is convoluted and difficult, that makes development difficult too. Just running your projects is a big hassle, and maintaining them is a nightmare. Upgrading them, nobody even wants to touch that. So technical debt ensues, the projects fall behind, and security vulnerabilities start to pop up more and more. Act 2, it's not working. Bring in the coworker. You say, it's not working. Your coworker says, is MySQL running? You, yes. MySQL 8? Yes. Not 5. Correct. Is Redis running? Yes. RabbitMQ? Yep. Elasticsearch? Let me check. Yes. Okay then. I thought for sure you were going to ask if my refrigerator was running next. What? Never mind, it was a joke. What?
All right, Act 3, environmental variables and secrets. I get a 403 forbidden when the app connects to the XYZ service. Oh, you need the API key. There are some environment variables you need to set. Just put these exports in your bash RC file. But I use Z shell. What's Z shell? Act 4. Did you read the docs? Did you read the README? Yes. And what did it say? Okay, try this link then. What does it say in the code? Not very helpful, is it? Oh wait, the documentation, it's over here. Just want to say this is my first animation in Keynote. All right, Finn, thank you. All right, so is there a better way? So I'm sure there's plenty of better ways, but we're going to just kind of present what we think is one of the best ways to do it, and that is to use Docker. Can I just get a show of hands who uses Docker? Nice. Okay. Preach it to the choir here. Okay. For those that don't know Docker, let's just go through a little bit of the basics. So Docker is a way to run your applications inside of a container. You can think of a container as similar to a virtual machine. It's a little different though. They're packaged units of software that can run no matter where they live. So laptops, local servers, the cloud. And it contains all your dependencies in one place. Application code, binaries, libraries, programming language versions. So the benefits of using Docker is you can easily get new team members up and running in a consistent development environment, something that you know should be similar to what you're running in production. Quickly swap between different development environments. Safely experiment with new updates. I want to say there's another one. I had one come to mind, but I'm forgetting it right now. But let's move on.
So with Docker Compose, you can literally have everything you need with just one command, which is Docker Compose build. And then you can get everything up and running with just one more command, Docker Compose up. And not only that, everyone on your team develops using the same environment because they all use the same image, which by the way can also be used in production as well in Kubernetes, for example. So with Docker Compose, you can easily put all your environment variables into one .env file. You can even commit an example .env file that includes some sensible defaults to easily get new devs up and running. If someone doesn't like these defaults, they can just change them locally. So here on the left, we have a .env example file. There's a couple things that this will be committed with the code, but there's a couple things in here that I don't really like, the default option here. I'm just going to change those, turn on migration, turn on some logging. It's nice that I know which environment variable to use exactly. For secrets, of course, should not be committed into the code base for security reasons, but you can at least include their variable names there so the developers at least know they need to fill them in locally. So here on the right-hand side is just my local setup. I've filled those variables in locally. In the .env file itself, that's in gitignore, so that never gets committed. It just stays on your local setup always. Demo time.
Can I get a show of hands for Ruby developers in here? Okay. Okay, so I'm going to do a demo. It's going to involve RubyMine and using Docker. Both of us are going to, and Sean's going to show using Visual Studio Code. So RubyMine is JetBrains. So what I'm going to show should be similar if you're using like IntelliJ or Android Studio probably as well. So let's get into it. Is this thing? There we go. Okay. I need my hands. Okay. All right. You guys can hear me? Yeah. Okay. One second. Let me share. Let's see. Mirror my screen here. Okay. Okay. So this is RubyMine. If you use JetBrains, it's probably going to look similar to you. We have just a simple project here. It's just a web app with MySQL as a database. If I look at the Docker Compose file here, make it a little bigger for you guys. So basically just two services that we're using. There's a web service and there's a database service here. So I think Sean and I were probably pretty early adopters when it came to Docker, and and there was like a trade-off, at least when I started, where I would use an IDE for writing the code, but for actual debugging, I would basically just do it in terminal. So I'd shell into Docker and do it in terminal. Things have improved with the IDEs, and that's kind of what we want to show, that basically you could like develop just using Docker Compose, never have to install anything on your machine except Docker. And so here we've got a web service, we've got a database service, our Docker file. It's not following some of the best practices. For example, you shouldn't run your containers as root. So just don't use this as an example of what to do. But what I'm going to do is just show you, like here in RubyMine, it is aware of Docker, and I can start the services right within Docker. So you can see down in the bottom here, it's got the services running. A nice thing that they've added too is the external libraries that are being used. It does bring these locally to your machine, but you got a local cache of your dependencies. So that means if you need to step into someone else's code, you can do that. So we've got the project here. I'm going to try doing debugging into it. So one thing I'm going to point out, this is a little hacky for the demo here, but this is basically setting up a remote debugging host. So basically the way you get debugging your Docker containers is that you do it via remote debugging. So every language has some sort of way of doing remote debugging. So it'd be similar with whatever framework you're using. So we've started this. We started our services. I'm just gonna get and show the logs here real quick.
Is it possible that we could dim the lights?
Oh, yeah, I don't know. Oh, light mode. Yeah.
Thank you.
Oh, nice.
Because I care about your presentation.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah. Okay, so I'm just gonna tail the logs here.
Big enough too. Can everybody see this okay?
I'm 55, I can.
Okay, so basically the logs right now is just saying that the debugger is just waiting. It's waiting to get started. So what I'm going to do is attach to it. So I set up just a configuration in RubyMine already. Right here, and basically you just kind of set it up. It just wants to know like where the source code is, locally and on this is locally, this is on the Docker container, the port that it needs to communicate. So that is one thing, you do have to open up a port for the remote debugging. And I'm going to run the debugger here. Okay, so if I go back to my logs, we can see that the web service is now running, port 3000. I'm going to go to a web browser. It's just a simple thing to list the users. Oh, before I do that though, let me make sure I have a breakpoint. I believe I set up a breakpoint ahead of time, but here we go. Users, controller, yep. So I have a breakpoint here just on the index. And here we go. Run it, hits the breakpoint. I'm in here now. I could do user dot first. Comes back here with the user. So basically, I think what we're trying to show is that I think we've encountered people that were reluctant to use Docker because they're so attached to their IDE and debugging in their IDE. And we're kind of showing that like that barrier is gone. You can do this without downloading and installing any of these things and installing it on your machine. Just one quick thing I want to show you too is that connect to the database just like you would any other remote database. So if we need to get to the database, it's right there for us as well. And now I'm going to switch over to, we're going to switch over to Sean's machine here. And he's going to show you basically the similar thing, but using VS Code.
Oh, sure, it works on his machine.
Maybe. There we go. Okay. So.
That's rough.
Is the resolution bad on it?
Yeah.
Oh boy, okay. One moment.
Maybe take it out VG.
Uh-oh. Demos. I'm not even sure where to find that. Do you know where that's at?
Optimize? Oh, that's really, yeah.
Oh, yeah, try that.
Nothing?
This presentation is all about small victories. Okay. Everybody can see that okay? All right. All right. So, again, remember, I'm a new developer on a brand new team. I just pulled down the source code. It's got a Docker file in it, which has all the instructions to build the image, and it has a Docker compose file in there as well to be able to bring up our services. So all I got to do, oh, sorry. So the first command, all I got to do is run docker compose build. Remember all that downloading that we did in the first few slides? That's what this is doing here, and that's done right there. I do actually have a note here to hold for applause as well. So, cool. Thank you. So, in order to bring up those services, just do our second command, Docker compose up. And there we go. Everything's up and running. We can go ahead and check our logs as well. So let's check our web logs. Let's just running our Rails app here. You can see I got our debugger running as well. Over in VS Code, there's an extension for VS Code called Remote Explorer. And with that, you can see your containers that are running. These are the ones that I just brought up. I want to connect to my web container here. So let's go ahead and do that. It's basically bringing up another instance of VS Code, but now inside our container here, or connected to our container here. As far as running the debugger, let's say, for example, I got a breakpoint right here, and I just need to go over to this run and debug option, press play, Now our debugger is running. Go back over to our app here, make a call. That'll automatically bring back VS Code to the debugger. And you got all your local variables here. You have another console down here as well where you can type in anything you want, inspect your variables, test it out down there. All in VS Code in this Docker container instance. And if I need to bring those services back down, just do Docker compose down. That'll just kill everything, just clean up everything nice and easy. That's all it is. And that's the demo. So let me
Well, we definitely don't have a monopoly on ideas here, so we just thought, this is just one way we've kind of solved making just development more pleasurable and just easy to get going and stuff like that. But just wondering if any of you want to share any of your horror stories or maybe ways that you've made onboarding a little easier. All right, Ben.
Have you heard of ASDF as a version manager that's not for just Ruby but for the Node, Yarn?
That does sound familiar. Yeah. Does anybody here use ASDF? Okay. And does it work pretty well for you guys? And does it do automatic things like you go into a directory and it just kind of sets things up for you? All right, that's good.
You have to have .tool versions rather than .ruby versions.
Ah, okay, great. Anybody else? Come on, there's got to be a good horror story here, right?
I'm just a student starting out, but we're in a software dev class right now, and we're building a mobile app. Anytime we go up to present a demo of the app, it maybe builds on 1 out of 4 of our computers every time. There's always some kind of mismatch, some Java version, some Gradle version, some Switch version.
Yep, that's exactly, yeah. And just to add on to that, I mean, a lot of us have been struggling with the transition to ARM. I think everybody who has a Mac loves their M1s, but now you have production servers that are still Intel, but you're still working with ARM and stuff like that. And I feel like there's half of us that have to send in compiler flags when we're down, trying to build our Ruby gems and stuff like that. So I can definitely relate to that. I think you guys could benefit from this. All right. Oh.
Mine's more of a horror story of how Docker actually helps. I used to work for a startup that when I onboarded and I got the web application running in 4 hours, that was the fastest anyone had got it running. It was usually 1 month to get it running locally. And then I taught someone the next day how to run it and got it done in 30 minutes. And the VP and everyone was just like, how do you know how to do this? And I'm like, oh, I'm an old Linux and open source head, so I can actually see what was going on. And then we were able to do a project to just increase Docker Compose and do everything else and got it so everyone else could run it within 30 minutes without me teaching them.
Yeah.
So, there is something to be said, how often do you need to have people churning for days because they don't understand all the various Linux subculture stuff? And it also worked well because we had a mix of Macs and Linux and Windows people. So
Oh, yeah.
Docker Compose, it saves.
Thank you for sharing that. I just want to kind of add on to it, another thing that's really nice is if something gets upgraded, just one person needs to just update the Docker Compose file or the Docker file. So save time there too.
I have a horror story. I had to install an application from another team, and I installed a Node version manager and had to install Node. That was like 3 years ago. Installed Cold Fusion, and then get Cold Fusion integrating with IIS, and then for some reason the system administrator decided to hard code the Cold Fusion administrator username and password, and if you don't have the correct username or password, the application won't run, and you had to put the magic strings. So it took me about a week, and then I decided to write a wiki, a very detailed wiki, and then another person had to do the same thing, and they took about 2 days instead of a whole week. Albeit I did commit a sin, and it's currently in perpetual. Wiki is in progress state right now. So.
I'm guilty of that.
Yeah. Sean is a documentation expert. Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, like the documentation is just another thing to maintain, but that is kind of a nice thing about the encapsulation with Docker Compose, where you can see what all the services are, you know, what they depend on, stuff like that. So it's a bit of like a way to kind of view the architecture. I think this is basically it. I don't know if anybody has anything else you want to share or questions too.
I just have a quick comment and then a question also for you. If you're willing to run your application in containers in production, doing it in containers locally makes it much more reliable that when it's running locally, it will also run the same way in production, because we've run into many situations where, you know, you can run it, it seems like it's all working fine, you deploy it, and suddenly it's not working, and you're like, what's different?
Yeah.
And maybe it's the architecture of the system it's running on, maybe it's, you know, who knows, there's a bunch of different reasons why that could be, so containers helps a lot in that respect. I was curious what you guys have run into. We do a lot of applications that have to integrate with different systems in our business. Lots and lots of secrets, lots of secrets. And it's really a pain. We have a secret repository where they're all stored, but it's like 18 clicks to go and copy each one out and paste it in. How do you manage getting lots of secrets to a new person? I mean, it's not going to take a week to do that, but it seems like pretty much an annoying problem that should be easy to solve.
Yeah, that's a really good question that I still don't know how to answer. A password manager, we've used that in the past, and just add everybody kind of to the repository, the password repository. But yeah, that's a great point that you gotta have all these secrets floating around. And with the .env file, it was sometimes hard to even know that there was supposed to be a secret even to begin with. So the .env file is supposed to get you like kind of halfway there, or the example file is supposed to get you halfway there. Then you got to go, you know, to a fellow coworker or something to get what the actual secrets are and stuff. But yeah, great question. If you find out, let me know.
Yeah, I'm on a. Is this thing on? Looks like it's red. I'm just going to talk loudly. Yeah, I'm on a gig right now where they have they wrote their own utility that just goes to Amazon, pulls the secrets down for you. But you know, they had to write a tool for that. So it's like, yeah, I think it's like something that hasn't quite been solved. I don't think this mic is working. If you're willing to just belt it out.
I can speak up.
Okay.
I had similar secret issues, and using a tool is we used. I think they've been bought now, but Thycotic. That's been great. You don't have to use that one, but having an online source, that's been great, because in the code we just reference the secret ID. It pulls it down at runtime.
Oh, so it's like a service.
It's a
Okay.
service.
Okay.
It's then starting your services is only as reliable as that third party now, which is an issue, but it wasn't as big an issue for us.
Yeah.
As running, as all the secret management stuff. And then you can also write things like we're using we, in our automation, we can put the secret into you can cache the secret, so that a human doesn't need to put it in there, but it gets put in somewhere permanent. So then your only dependency is really at build time, or well, we won't build it, but when you at deploy time. So things that need the secrets but are still running at least aren't vulnerable to that third party going.
And the service is zycotic? Is that what you said? Thycotic? Oh, okay.
Secret server, right?
It's secret server.
Oh, okay.
Delinea, I think, is the company. We use it too.
Delinea.
Is that tool that you're talking about something that you guys built, or is it their product, or?
We're using Azure DevOps, and so you can build the secret into it has its own secret. It has its own secret handling, and you can write your pipelines so that there's something retrieves and then puts it into that secret handling, so that you get all the benefits of the compliance in the tool.
Yeah. I wasn't sure if the secret retrieval was something that was done by a product of theirs or a custom tool.
It's a custom tool.
Okay. Yeah. Sounds like it's just an opportunity here for. So, someone had their hand. Go ahead.
I was going to say, HashiCorp Wall is pretty expensive, but they actually built a container that kind of like siloed the secret. So basically, during your runtime, the container will pull out the secret that you need, and if you wanted to build it as an environment variable, you can do that. So when during build time, you can all your secrets load as environment variable.
Okay.
And what was it called?
HashiCorp Vault.
Oh, HashiCorp?
Yep.
Okay.
That's another really solid choice.
Okay, great. Oh, we got, okay.
Azure app configuration service.
Okay.
And then we just have everything namespace with like a global and an application specific namespace. Then we have a script that goes and pulls down the applicable configuration for each service, and then generates the env file. And we found that to be
nice.
All the secrets are stored in one place, central to everybody, and just makes everything really clean.
Nice, and you can use this for local development? And
yeah, we just use the cloud, but you can use it locally.
Okay. Chris?
When you encapsulate your project in one of these Docker images, do you find that developers are more likely to go update these stale dependencies instead of letting stuff age?
That's a good question. I would say yes.
I think the answer is yes. I know I've been on projects before where literally nobody wants to touch it because they know it's going to break their configuration. They're not willing to experiment with a new update, a security update even, just because they know, it's going to break something. So, yeah, I know I am. I'm more willing to just play around with things, especially Ruby gems, Ruby libraries and stuff like that, just put them in there, see if it works. And if it doesn't, revert it and rebuild your image and you're good to go. Try something else. So, yeah, it encourages experimentation, I think, because you don't have to. You're not going to screw up your local environment. You can always go back.
Yeah, and the same is true when you deploy, right? You can revert back to a previous image, right? If something goes wrong. All right. Well, thank you, everybody, for coming.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
We do have other Livefront representation here speaking today, so be sure to get that QR code, and that will give you all the talks for our Livefront folks today. Also, thank you for the assistance with the lights, everybody. That's awesome.